Many entrepreneurs believe that success means building alone. Today's guest proves the opposite. Community Solutions by Design was founded by 9 Tennessee State University graduates who believed they could build something larger together than any one of them could build alone. Today, we're talking about collaboration, leadership, architecture, aviation, and how contractors, developers, and public agencies can successfully work with firms like Community Solutions by Design. Here at the Commercial Builders Network, we say construction can change your life, and it's starting to look a lot like you. This is the Commercial Builders Network, where trust is restored, power is reclaimed, and legacy is built. Let's get to work. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Commercial Builders Network. My name is Tanisha Reed, and I am your host. And today we have the amazing Jonathan Clark with Community Solutions by Design. We are going to dive into architecture, engineering, and why working together is so essential. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Tanisha, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me to partake in this conversation with you.
Awesome. So, look, what stood out the most in your story was saying that it wasn't just you who started your company, but you and 8 other members or students, former students of Tennessee State University, come together, collaborated, and built this amazing company. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story?
Yeah, most definitely. So, to tie all of that together, I like to personally start with I grew up watching Shark Tank. So if you know what that is, it's a bunch of entrepreneurs, people are pitching them to try to gain partners and equity and all this kind of other stuff. So I watched that for years when the first season came out, and I think what God was doing was planting seeds of entrepreneurship in me at an early age. I knew I wanted to get into business, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So when I went to Tennessee State and I studied my bachelor's of engineering, I formed a tight knit group with a lot of people. I was very friendly. People knew me, and so during the time that I was there, I kind of gave the idea to, I don't know, probably like 40 people. I gave the idea. I said, look, not really sure where this is going, but I know at some point, like, I want to do this engineering thing, as a business on my own, full time, just throwing it out there. And so 2 years passed, and when I felt the time was right, I reached back out, and 8 of them said, hey, yeah, I do remember you talking about this. Like, I think this could be something that we can actually do. At that time, I don't think any of us had started a business. Maybe one of the partners had some business experience, but for the most part, we was building the plane while we were trying to fly it, if that makes sense. So, so it was exciting. It was young energy. It was good energy. It was positive energy, which I think all is needed when you are trying to build an empire from the ground up. So that's kind of where that came from, and we was super excited to get started.
Awesome. So with most graduates, they go their separate ways, they do their own things. And I just want to know, like, even though you made the call, was there any like mind shift things that you had to like get by? Or was it just an exciting adventure because you guys were young and doing your thing? Like, what made you guys say, yeah, let's build this together?
If I was to go back and ask all of the partners, to be honest with you, I think it was people's belief in me. Um, I've heard comments and different other people talk about, like, hey, they always knew I was going to be the one to do something. Like in the high school yearbook, you
Yeah.
look at people and it's like the most likely to do this, most likely, yeah. So like I was the most likely to be an entrepreneur, or most likely to start a business. And I think they just entrusted in that. And because we had built that relationship, working together in university setting, I think they kind of really knew my work ethic, knew my integrity, honesty, just genuinely overall good character. And that kind of took away some of the skepticism or fear of like launching, getting out there and taking risks. So I think really I have to credit that portion of our chemistry to just they're trusting me basically.
I love that because a lot of
Yeah.
times, when we are looking for to become entrepreneurs or looking for an opportunity, we're looking at up and looking to see, okay, well, if somebody has, what I want,
Mhm.
let's go after that, which isn't a bad thing to try to
Uh-huh.
see, mentorship or coaching and everything. But I think a lot of times we lose sight of looking to the left and to the right of the people that have the
Mm.
same goals as you and say, look, how can we figure out how to build this together instead of spending all this money trying to, I know the cheat code and coaches, I'm not against it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're looking so far ahead of what they have instead
Mhm.
of building on the ground together with the people that are around you. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when did you realize that, man, I think we got something special here?
To this day, I remember my first client, which was a homeowner, and she was like doing some renovations in Nashville, Tennessee. And I remember it very directly because we we were like college, not too far from college, right? We were afraid to charge her like $2,000 to do like some professional service stuff. And it was so funny because when we told her the price, like she wrote the check immediately. I was like, wait, wait, wait. Boy, in our mind, we were like, wait a minute, this is happening too quick.
Too
You
fast,
know,
right?
yeah, but just to have someone have enough confidence in us to write a $2,000 check, like coming from university, getting into workforce, having that type of mentality, and then like jumping into entrepreneurship and like basically that dollar value equates to like people's trusting you. And it was like that was just like I think that might have been a light bulb moment maybe. Now that I think about it, is this lady who I don't know from anybody else. She found us, on Google. We visited her, got to know her a bit, got to know her project, and kind of stated how we could help her, and then like offered her what our service was for a fee, and she wrote a check. So like that was like uh an amazing moment to this point now to where we are today. And I mean we have very large contract with public agencies and entities. So I think to go from that to where we are now, it just takes some internal growth. And I think a lot of the partners had a chance to see that over time.
My
Hmm.
thoughts are you guys are architects, right? You guys are brilliant minds. How do you, I guess, bring your strengths together? Because my thoughts with how smart you guys are with what you do, there has to be some kind of how do you do the not the hierarchy per se, but say, let me give and let me take a step back at these moments. How
Hmm.
do you guys navigate that?
So there's two things I can name. One is I have to credit the other partners' experiences. So like not everybody went the traditional consulting route like I did. Some people went into construction, which is a huge added value. Some people went into ownership, owner's rep, and construction management. And of course, some other partners like went into engineering and things like that. So like, really, I was excited because we were able to have a very blended amount of resources. And I know not necessarily like it's not about how smart I am. It's about, how can I get people that may know more than me and in different facets, like to work together. And so the way we have built the business is more of a collaboration. Um, so like the background story was, when I first started the business with these partners, like we went, I think we went like a year. We went like a year without like, this was a volunteer army for like a year. So it wasn't that, we were trying to, make people do certain things. It was the openness and the creativity and the space of like, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is how I can bring value to the team so that we can become a, sustainable, profitable company. So I think like just creating that openness in that space to be the best version of yourself, allow people to feel like they had a place, without, people stepping on each other's toes. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
So would be some advice you would give to an entrepreneur that is afraid of partnering and sharing clients and the opportunities and stuff? What advice would you give to them?
Uh, in these last couple of years, I have realized that partnering is probably outside of like pure organic growth and like buying other companies, like partnering is probably the fastest way to grow a business. Um, and the one thing I will caution is for me, it's really about the person's character, his character. Um, I can't say this hard enough that like human beings have patterns, and the way that a person does one thing is the way that they do everything in every area of their life. And so before you get into a partnership or you try to, go down that route, it's a lot of what we do, like as an architect, it's only like 20% technical. The other 80% is dealing with people.
Mhm.
And so the technical stuff is not even the hard part. It's like, am I even choosing the right client? Not all money is good money.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I assess the client's character? Do they value me as an architect, or do they see me as a necessary evil? Um, partnering with other companies, when we talking about like joint ventures or teaming agreements, it's like, does this other company have the same values that we do? Am I going to get along with this person? 'Cause I'm about to get in bed with them for this project for the next 3, 4 years, designing and, developing and construction. This is not an overnight thing. This takes years off your life.
Yeah.
So, it's like, do I want to be married to this person for a long time? And I think the most important advice I could give you is, who is this person when things aren't going well? Who is this person when stress has entered the camp? That is the real person.
Mhm.
And if you are able to conduct and see a person in moments of stress, in moments of turmoil or chaos, like whatever that looks like, that is the real person. And so you want to make sure that that person can still have character, integrity, just certain values that make it a nice experience to be with someone. Um, and that's gonna have you back, because it's not if stuff will go wrong. It's when things will go wrong, especially in the construction industry. So that's what we look for. That's what we've learned over time, and that's the advice I can give.
Awesome. Now, on this platform, one of the big things that we harp on is how do we rebuild trust within the community? And I
Yeah.
saw that one of the things that you say is we're a partner, not a compliance checkbox. What
Mhm.
built that philosophy when dealing with clients?
Uh, I think it goes back to like, does this client genuinely want to work with us as a partner, or um, is this client or agency or entity, working with us because um we have some sort of external, value that like helps them achieve some sort of goal. Because we're a smaller business, we're a small company, and a lot of times we work with larger firms, and the big projects that we work on are public agency driven, and so there's requirements to have small businesses and minority businesses and all these sorts of things, and so we just try to really determine and have discernment around, if no requirement existed, does this person really have a genuine interest in us? And those are the clients that we in the community that we really want to, work in, because we get to show up as our best self. And so it's a partnership and not just a, you give us the best chances of winning, so please join our team.
Now, you
Yeah.
are a rare breed with being not only an architect, but a professional engineer as well. How has that shaped your
Yeah.
perspective when it goes to working on these projects?
It's I would say good, and also I have to have a little bit of caution because I sometimes I get a little overzealous, and I'm the type of guy that like I'll take on a challenge and then like figure out how to solve it, after I get it. And so I will say though, it's when I work with clients, it's helped me have the whole perspective, especially like when I'm engaging my partners that have been in construction. So I can't tell you how many countless times I probably saved clients from making a very poor decision. And it's not their fault because this is not their industry. What we try to do is show up as trusted, value consultants, trusted advisors, and I'm only able to do that because I can see projects from different sides. So from the development end as an architect, how to get the best value out of development, from the engineering perspective of what's going to be the most efficient way to do something that's like most cost effective, and then on the construction end of um how to communicate with the contractor, how to kind of educate the client also about like what's happening during construction. And we often have to do that because a lot of clients for some reason think projects are supposed to be perfect. And that may be a natural tendency, but helping to educate them about like what's happening in real time. I think it's been our strengths.
Awesome. Now, for a
Yeah.
person that is new to the industry that may
Mm.
either, be interested in becoming an architect or engineer or
Yeah.
don't know they should, or even from the perspective of a client, potential client who would want to hire you, what is the
Mm.
difference between an architect, an engineer, and why would I, hire your firm to come in? What step of the process? I know it's a bunch of questions
Mm.
I'm asking back to back, right? What part of the process are you coming in and why? Oh, I have this brilliant idea. I'll just hire a GC. Why
Oh,
do they need you?
oh, I just cringed. I just got chills when you said that. Oh my goodness. Because that happens more times than I want to deal with. Oh, so to answer your first question, so an architect, the best way I could put this, I learned this over time, is that architecture isn't really actually about the buildings. Believe it or not, architecture is about the human experience. We just so happen to be able to, um, how can I say, transform environments to edify human experience. So the way I'll describe it and explain it is, it's like um, we spend probably 90% of our time inside of buildings, whether that's at work, whether that's for entertainment purposes, or whether that's like leisure activities, play, work. So we try to design architecture in such a way where it goes with the natural tendencies that we have as human beings. So um architecture is about like activating the sensories of the body, so like if you've ever been into a place and the vibe, like you don't know why you like it, but it's like, man, like the atmosphere, the ambiance, the vibe, the smells, the natural light, like all those things come together and like activate this energy in you. And so in the essence, that's what architecture is about. We're technically trained to deal with building layouts, materials, and code, all this type of stuff to like at the end of the day give you that like euphoric feeling when you walk into a space. You're like, I don't want to leave. I like it here, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's architecture. Okay. Engineering is the support of that. Engineering is, it's almost like dealing with, like, it's almost like Lego blocks. It's like there's certain pieces that we have to play with, and we have to figure out what piece and in what order makes sense to like build this building. There's all kind of engineers. There's civil, structural, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, like fire protection. There's like 20 different engineers that work on buildings. And so when you have a really complicated, really sophisticated building, you have a huge team of engineers, because those are the guys that like make all of the details happen that you actually don't even see.
Mhm.
Um, just like our bodies, you only see skin deep, right? But there's so many systems on the inside of your body. That's the engineer.
Mm.
So that's probably the best way I can explain that. And then why would clients hire us? I think the biggest thing, and like I said, I cringe when you say, "Oh, I have an idea. Let me hire a GC." I was literally having a conversation about this yesterday, and a lot of clients may not be familiar with like the design and construction process. And like when a client says, "Hey, I have an idea. Let me go to a GC." No disrespect to GCs at all. I love working with general contractors, but that client has literally skipped a whole like an entire design process,
Mm.
and and that's like sometimes months of proper planning that needs to go into this project. And a lot of times though, GCs, the clients don't notice, they circle right back and come back to the architect because
Mm.
a lot of general contractors, they get the drawings and the plans and the all of the instructions from the architect.
Mhm.
So there's in a lot of ways there's no way to get around an architect. I put it like that.
Mhm.
But I think why clients will hire us is again like we we bring a certain feeling of safety that I think a client could appreciate, and helping them, to navigate the best return on investment. I think it's going to be important. So yeah,
Awesome. Now, what
yeah.
is like couple of like major mistakes that people tend to make before hiring an architect?
Mm.
Like you said, I got an idea. I can make this happen.
Uh, so this is a funny cliche that my peers and I say all the time. Let professionals do what professionals do. and
Mm.
so and so all we need from clients is the idea. Like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. These are our thoughts. Like this is some of the creative energy, crazy stuff. Like that's all we need. And we're able to use what we've been technically trained to do. It's almost like sitting in a chair. You've been asked the questions about, so tell me about 5 years ago, and like helping people with those kind of problems. We do the same thing for like getting pulling the idea out of people so that we can actually turn it into a visual, building concept. Um, so that's what we do. I think that's a lot of mistakes is like they'll go spend money on a bunch of different stuff. They'll, like I said, they may go to a GC, um, and they just may not be getting the full return on the investment of time and money spent before seeking an architect. Sometimes they'll go buy land. They'll go buy land. They'll spend money, and they have this idea of like, yeah, we wanted to put this on the land, and then they talk to me and they find out, well, it's not even zoned. So like the city won't even let you do that. So now you're stuck with this parcel of land, and then we got to figure out how to make it profitable for you. So it's just all kind of stuff like that.
So, can you go into what is your ideal client?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is kind of one of my my favorite things to talk about. So, the company, when we first started, we were doing like mostly residential. That was the easiest entry of barrier, for a started architecture and engineering company. We have since then, like literally night and day, moved into a lot of commercial work actually. So, in commercial work, we are doing hospitality. So that's like hotels, bars and restaurants. People like to eat. We learned that very quickly. um, Also, office spaces. Education actually is one of, I think, my favorites. Also, we do a lot of daycares, charter schools. Charter schools is huge, and then higher education. So we work with a few universities in the region. Um, we also do healthcare. So we're working on like OR projects, hemodialysis, eye care, like different professions, professional clinic buildings. And then I would say probably One of my biggest and favorites are airports. So we do a lot of aviation work. Actually, we've been in Nashville at that airport for probably the last four years and going. So aviation is really cool because it's complex, but it's a lot to learn, and it's like a mini city. So it's a lot of things going on.
Awesome. Aviation, that's so cool that like how many people can say they actually help with an airport. And most people are thinking of the terminals themselves, but what are some opportunities that are there in these airports that some people may not even think about?
There's so much. Again, like I said, airports are a small cities, so they have fire departments, police department. So aviation is split into two categories: aeronautical and non-aeronautical. So some airports even on land, like either right outside the airport space, where they may do some type of building to lease, right? That's going to like generate revenue. You have parking garages. Um, and then you have like all of the administrative spaces, right? Support buildings. You also have something called FBOs, which is fixed base operators. These are your private jets. So like they have their whole little thing going on. So there's just so much at airports that you can get involved with.
For someone who may be hoping to get
Mm.
into that space, what would be your advice to them?
We got brought to the table through partnership, but it was actually from sowing seeds like 10 years ago. So my story is there was a general contractor who we helped do some pro bono work for a elementary school. It was like this little small project. Um we did that, and that person and I stayed in contact for like the next 10 years. And then he called me and was like, "Hey, I got an opportunity. Think you might be interested in it. I got real good relationships with this airport and the prime architect. Think it would be a great fit. Are you interested?" And so I was like, "Yeah." So he gave my name to the individuals, and like we got on a team and went after the contract and actually won the work. So my experience was from partnership, sowing seeds, word of mouth, like people kind of bringing us in on the team. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of the airports are spending billions of dollars a year. If you look at the US DOT and the aviation division, they're spending billions of dollars on these airports. So there's money for everybody.
I love that. If there
Yeah.
was any piece of advice you would give to an architect or engineer who is on the residential side and wanting
hmm
to go into the commercial side, what would it be?
I would say definitely home in on your craft. Um and I say that because residential and commercial construction is slightly different in terms of like rules, regulations, codes, liability. So spend some extra time, honing in on your craft, in terms of like, studying, getting familiar and studying a little bit more about those rules, regulations, and, just the risks you're exposing yourself to. Um, the best way would be to, partner with another firm, maybe on a small commercial project, or sometimes like there's clients that bring us residential work, like multifamily work, that also do small commercial stuff. So
Mhm.
just trying to get your feet wet in that before you dive, fully in. But it's not a scary thing to do. It's just there's just a little bit more to it than what the residential projects require.
Love it. What's
Yeah.
next for Community Solutions by Design?
Development. That's next. So we're looking at a couple things. Is one, being an architect and engineer, our our business is still like project to project, right? So what we wanted to do was, how can we create a source of additional, revenue? And what landed on my heart was like ownership. The word ownership keeps coming up. And so, well, how can we be either develop our own projects or be a part of development teams, in order to have that additional stream where it's like, hey, we'll be paid to design the project, but also we have an equity stake in the project. So if the project is a build and hold and rent and lease and all of that, well, we're making residuals on that long term. Or it could be a build and a sale, right? That situation exponentially increases our revenue, when that time comes. And so we've just been looking at how can we be creative, how can we join in partnerships, forces with emerging developers and some developers that are open to us trading some of our design fee for equity into the project.
Awesome. Do you have an
Yeah.
ask of any sort, any kind of like potential partners or people you're looking for, potential clientele or anything, any ask for your business that you're looking for?
Yeah. I mean, so like I said, the next step for us is to become development partners. My ask would be if there's any emerging developers within the Southeast region, or further out, we'll go where the partnerships make sense. That they join us in creating thriving communities. We want to do projects of purpose. We want to make sure that we are also giving back. So getting involved with the youth and things like that, we love doing that. So there's opportunities for me to come speak, to engage community and youth. That's also something I would ask as well.
Awesome. How do we get in touch with you and support?
Yeah, so you can definitely, the best thing is to find me on LinkedIn. Just my name, Jonathan Clark. You'll see my face there. Just connect with me on there. I'm very active. You can also email me at jclark at csbd9.com. And then I'll even throw out my business cell phone number, 629-246-3143. So you can call me there.
All right. Only use that if you bring in some money to the table.
That's
All
right.
right. Now, don't be
That's
playing
right.
with this man's his number. John, it has been a pleasure having you here. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. I really appreciate you.